They offered me the promotion on a Thursday. Senior Vice President. Corner office on the 42nd floor. Company car. $200,000 salary increase. Everything I'd worked 19 years to achieve, handed to me in a single email with a subject line that read leadership opportunity. There was just one condition buried in the second paragraph. I needed to sign off on the Clearwater Logistics policy first, a $50 million comprehensive liability contract covering 600 commercial trucks that I knew, with absolute certainty, were going to kill someone. I sat there staring at that email for 40 minutes while my coffee went cold, knowing that the next decision I made would either secure my family's future or destroy everything I'd built. What I didn't know yet was that 6 months later, 7 people would die on an Indiana highway when the brakes failed on a truck I could have kept off the road. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My name is Marcus. I'm 43. I've worked in commercial insurance underwriting for 19 years, the last 11 at Rothman & Associates in downtown Chicago. I assess risk. Calculate exposure. Decide what policies we can write and what we can't. Most people think insurance is boring until they need it. The email came at 2:47 p.m. I was being offered Senior VP of Risk Assessment, reporting directly to the Executive Committee. 40% salary increase. Corner office. Company car. The position I'd been working toward for half a decade. There was just one condition. I needed to sign off on the Clearwater Logistics policy first. I sat back in my chair and looked out my window at the Chicago skyline. Gray clouds moving in from the lake. February cold pressing against the glass. The Clearwater file was sitting on my desk. Had been for 3 weeks. 187 pages of documentation for a $50 million comprehensive liability policy covering their entire fleet operation, 600 trucks, 1,200 drivers, operations across 18 states. I'd been stalling because something didn't add up. Their loss history showed a pattern. Small claims paid quickly, larger ones settled before litigation. Their driver training documentation was pristine. Too pristine. And their maintenance records showed repairs happening exactly on schedule, down to the day, for every vehicle in the fleet. Nobody's that organized. Not with 600 trucks. I'd requested additional documentation. Site visit records. Random inspection reports. They provided everything within 48 hours, and all of it looked perfect. That's when I knew something was wrong. Perfect documentation means someone's hiding something. In 19 years, I'd learned that real operations are messy. The cleaner the paperwork, the dirtier the reality. But Clearwater was our biggest potential client of the year. The commission on that policy would fund bonuses for half the company. Thomas Rothman himself had walked into my office last Monday asking about the timeline. This one's important, Marcus. Really important. I'd told him I needed another week for due diligence. He'd looked at me for a long moment. Don't overthink it. Sometimes good business is just good business. Now they were offering me the promotion before I'd even signed off. I called my wife, Rachel, on my drive home. They offered you Senior VP? She sounded thrilled. Marcus, that's incredible. Yeah. You don't sound excited. There's a policy they want me to approve first. I'm not comfortable with it. Silence on the line. Then, is this about your thing with patterns? My thing with patterns is my job. I know, but we've been waiting for this. Emma starts college in 2 years. This changes everything for us. After we hung up, I sat in the parking garage for 20 minutes watching condensation form on the windshield. The next morning, I did something I'd never done before. I hired a private investigator. Not through the company. Personal funds. $5,000 retainer to a guy named Chen who specialized in corporate due diligence. I gave him the Clearwater file and asked him to verify everything. Physical site visits. Driver interviews. Actual truck inspections. This is off the books, I told him. No paper trail to my company. Chen didn't ask why. Just took the retainer and said he'd have preliminary findings in 10 days. At work, I kept stalling. Told Rothman I was waiting on one final document from Clearwater's insurance history. He nodded, but I could see the impatience building. The promotion email sat in my inbox, unanswered. Emma asked about it over dinner that weekend. Mom said you might get promoted. Does that mean we can get a bigger house? Maybe, I said. You don't sound sure. It's complicated, sweetheart. Rachel shot me a look across the table. Chen called on day 8. You were right to be suspicious. What did you find? The maintenance records are fabricated. The repairs listed didn't happen. I checked 3 facilities, 2 don't exist at the addresses provided, the third is a front. It's just an office with a phone line. And the trucks? The ones I inspected? Brakes below standard on 40% of them. DOT violation stickers covered with magnetic decals. Driver logs are falsified, guys running doubles and triples on their hours. I thanked him and hung up. That night I sat at my kitchen table with the Clearwater file spread out in front of me. If I approved this policy and something went wrong, a major accident, fatalities, Rothman and Associates would be on the hook. We'd pay out claims based on my assessment that this was acceptable risk. People could die because I signed a piece of paper I knew was built on lies. But if I rejected it, Clearwater would just go to another underwriter. Someone who wouldn't look as closely. The trucks would still be on the road. The difference would be whether I got promoted or not. I thought about that for a long time. Monday morning, I walked into Thomas Rothman's office without an appointment. Marcus. Tell me you're here with good news. I can't approve the Clearwater policy. His expression didn't change immediately. He set down his pen carefully. Can or won't? Same thing in this case. We've been working on this deal for 6 months. Their documentation is falsified. Their maintenance is substandard. Their safety protocols don't exist outside of paperwork. If we insure them and something goes wrong, we'll be holding catastrophic liability. Rothman leaned back in his chair. You have proof of this? Yes. Through official channels? No. Then officially, you have suspicions. He steepled his fingers. Marcus, you're a good underwriter. One of the best I've ever worked with. But you're overthinking this. Every company has some paperwork issues. That's not our problem. Our problem is assessing acceptable risk and pricing it correctly. This is an acceptable risk. That's not your call to make anymore. The partnership has already approved the framework. We just need your signature as the underwriter of record. I stayed quiet. Rothman's voice softened. Think about what you're walking away from. Senior VP. Your daughter's college fund. Rachel's been talking to Susan about the promotion at every company event for the past month. He paused. Don't throw away your career over paperwork concerns that can't be proven. If there's something you found valuable here, consider subscribing. I share stories like this regularly, and I'd appreciate having you along. I left his office and went back to my desk. The promotion email was still there. All I had to do was reply accepting the offer and sign the Clearwater policy. By 5 p.m. I could be Senior VP Marcus with a corner office in a future that looked very different from my present. Instead, I spent the afternoon documenting everything I'd found. Chen's report. My analysis. The discrepancies. The fabricated records. I compiled it into a 47-page memo detailing why the Clearwater policy represented unacceptable risk. Then I sent it to Thomas Rothman, the partnership, and the compliance department. And I CC'd the Illinois Department of Insurance. The response was immediate. Rothman called me at 4:30 p.m. "What the hell did you just do?" "My job. You just cost this company $50 million in premium revenue and made us look incompetent to the state regulator. I prevented us from insuring a fleet that's going to kill someone. That's not your decision to make." His voice was shaking now. "You're done here, Marcus. Clean out your desk." I was escorted out by security at 5:15 p.m. 19 years of work packed into 2 cardboard boxes. My keycard deactivated while I was still in the elevator. Rachel was quiet when I got home. "They fired you?" "Yes." "Over that truck company?" "Yes." She sat down at the kitchen table. "Didn't look at me. Emma starts college in 2 years." "I know. We were going to have that promotion money. We were going to be stable for the first time in years." "I know. Was it worth it, Marcus?" "Really?" I didn't have an answer for her. The next 3 months were difficult. I sent out 40 applications. Got 2 interviews. No offers. Word had spread in the industry. Marcus Hammond turned down a promotion and cost his company a major client over paperwork concerns. Not the kind of underwriter anyone wanted to hire. Rachel stopped talking about it, which somehow felt worse than when she was angry. Emma asked once why I wasn't going to work anymore. I told her I was between jobs. She looked at me like she was trying to figure out if I was telling the truth. I started taking contract work. Risk assessment consulting for small firms. It paid about 30% of what I'd been making. In late May, I got a call from an attorney I didn't know. "Mr. Hammond? This is David Berger with Strauss & Kelton. We represent 7 families whose loved ones were killed in a highway accident in Indiana last month. The truck involved was owned by Clearwater Logistics." I sat down heavily. "The accident is under investigation," he continued. "But initial reports suggest brake failure and driver fatigue. We're building a lawsuit, and we've discovered that Clearwater was shopping for insurance from multiple carriers earlier this year. Your name came up in some documentation. I rejected their application." "Yes. And you filed a report with the State Insurance Commission detailing safety concerns." He paused. "Mr. Hammond, that report likely saved dozens of insurance companies from catastrophic liability. The truck that crashed? Brakes were inoperative. Driver had been on the road for 16 hours straight. Exactly the kind of violations you documented." After he hung up, I sat in my home office staring at nothing. 7 people dead. It had happened anyway. But it hadn't been Rothman and Associates on the hook for the claims. Some other underwriter had signed the policy I'd rejected. Some other company was about to pay out millions, possibly face insolvency. Rachel came in. "Who was that?" I told her. She sat down across from me. "You knew this would happen." "I knew something would happen eventually. I didn't know when. If you'd signed that policy, we'd be paying those claims right now. The company would be facing bankruptcy. And I'd have to live with knowing I approved insurance for trucks that killed 7 people." She reached across the desk and took my hand. First time she'd done that in months. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "I didn't understand." The Illinois Department of Insurance opened a full investigation into Clearwater Logistics in June. They found everything I documented and more. The company's DOT authority was revoked. The owner faced criminal charges. 3 other insurance companies that had written policies were hit with state sanctions for inadequate due diligence. Rothman and Associates received a commendation from the state for my initial report. They didn't call to tell me. I read about it in the industry newsletter. In August, I got a call from Meridian Risk Group in Philadelphia. They'd seen my name in the Clearwater investigation and wanted to talk. "We need someone who takes due diligence seriously," the hiring manager said. "Someone who won't bend when there's pressure." They offered me director of compliance. Slightly less than I'd been making before, but stable. Room for growth. I accepted. We moved to Philadelphia in September. Emma started at a good public school. Rachel found work at a medical practice near our apartment. It was smaller than we'd planned, but it was enough. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd taken the promotion. Corner office Marcus with his company car and his bigger house. Emma at a private school. Rachel happy. But I'd be sitting in that corner office right now knowing 7 people died in trucks I'd approved as acceptable risk. I'd be defending the company in bankruptcy court. I'd be explaining to regulators why I'd ignored evidence of fraud. There's no version of that future where I can look at myself. On my first day at Meridian, the CEO called me into her office. "We hired you because you made a difficult choice," she said. "Most people in this industry optimize for career. You optimized for accuracy. That's rare." I didn't tell her it hadn't felt like optimizing for anything. It had felt like closing the door on everything I'd worked for and hoping something was on the other side. Last month, I got an email from Thomas Rothman. Subject line, "Congratulations." Inside, "I saw you landed at Meridian. Well deserved. For what it's worth, you were right about Clearwater." I should have listened. I didn't reply. There's nothing to say to someone who thought 19 years of partnership mattered less than one policy. Emma asks sometimes about Chicago, whether we'll go back. I tell her probably not. This is home now. She doesn't know why we left. Just knows that we did. Maybe someday I'll explain that her father walked away from everything because 7 people he never met deserve someone to notice the brakes were bad before they got on the highway. Or maybe I'll just let her think we moved for a job opportunity. Both things are true, in their way. If you've stayed with me this far, I appreciate it. There's a subscribe button below if you'd like to hear more stories. No pressure either way. I still work in insurance. Still assess risk. Still decide what policies we can write and what we can't. The difference now is that I work for people who understand that some risks aren't worth taking, regardless of the premium. When I review files now, I think about Marcus from 2 years ago, sitting in his office looking at perfect documentation and knowing it meant something was hidden. I think about the promotion email I never answered. And I think about 7 families in Indiana who lost someone because an underwriter somewhere decided paperwork concerns weren't worth the career cost. I can't fix what happened. But I can make sure it doesn't happen again on my watch. That's not revenge. It's not justice. It's not even redemption. It's just being able to sleep at night. And some days, that's enough.